20 weeks, 60 schools, 180 players, countless hours studying. It all culminates today, crowning a champion for our 55th season. This is the Nordson Academic Challenge Championship match. And away we go. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Rob Powers. This is our 55th championship game. We could not be happier to have you here today. One team will be crowned our champion and win our top prize, a $6,000 grant for their school from our friends at Nordson. Here to compete, the top three scoring teams this season, Aurora, Solon, and Strongsville. This is how the leaderboard finished up this year. Every one of our top three teams scored more than 800 points in their games. Finishing in fourth place this year, Marion L. Steele, good for a prize from Nordson in the amount of $3,000. This year's fifth place finisher, winner of a $2,000 grant from Nordson, is Brecksville Broadview Heights. Congratulations to them, and a big thank you to every one of the 60 schools that joined us for our historic 55th season. Let's get it going. We start with the lightning round. All three teams compete in this round. We award 20 points for a correct answer. We subtract 20 points for an incorrect or no answer. Let's start each team with 100 points. All set? Let's do it. Famous American women. American women have excelled in many fields. Identify the following, all of whom have had a major impact in American life. Here we go. This 2016 Democratic Party presidential candidate was a former Solon.
Hillary Clinton.
That is correct. She founded the American Red Cross. Solon.
Clara Barton.
That is correct. In 1937, this female aviator disappeared while Solon.
Amelia Earhart.
That is correct. In 2022, she became the first female African-American Supreme Court Justice. Aurora.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
That is correct. She wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Strongsville. Julia Ward Howe. She led over 300 slaves to freedom on the Underground Railroad. Solon.
Harriet Tubman.
That is correct. This 19th century poet from Amherst, Massachusetts. Solon.
Dickinson.
That is correct. In 1983, she became the first American woman astronaut to go into space. Solon.
Sally Ride.
That is correct. Her book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, created Solon.
Harriet Beecher Stowe.
That is correct. For our final lightning round question, we go to New York City, the ABC studios from Good Morning America, and this week with George Stephanopoulos. It's George Stephanopoulos.
Thank you, Rob, and good morning, everyone. Here's this week's Academic Challenge video question. Alexander Hamilton was our first Treasury Secretary. Who holds this cabinet position today?
Solon.
Janet Yellen.
That is correct, and that's the end of our round. We are off and running. We'll be back with more of the 55th season Nordson Academic Challenge Championship finale after this timeout. Welcome back to the Nordson Academic Challenge 55th season championship game. We're going to jump right back into the match. This is our hot picks round. One at a time, I ask each team 8 questions. A correct response here in this round is worth 20 points. There's no penalty for a wrong answer. Any team answering all 8 questions correctly will receive 25 bonus points. We start with Aurora. For your questions, we go to Varun. Varun, open board here. 1, 2, 3, or 4?
2.
2. All right, Aurora, reminder, these questions are all yours. All set? Here we go. Research indicates that the reason cats love catnip is that catnip contains chemicals that ward off what insects that carry malaria?
Mosquitoes.
That is correct. Humans are not the only animals that throw things when they get angry. So does one species of what 8-armed aquatic creature who will sling shells and silt when annoyed?
Octopus.
That is correct. Americans often categorize things by numbers, as FDR did when enumerating what number of freedoms in a famous 1941 speech?
3.
4. 4 is the answer. We go to the monitor. That's okay. Here's your science question. A typical seed is an embryo made up of a protective covering called the seed coat and a supply of stored food called which of these?
Endosperm.
That is correct. When scientists bombarded lead with zinc ions, they created a new element that's been named for what 16th century Polish astronomer who declared the planets revolve around the sun?
Galileo.
Copernicus is the answer. That's okay. Anton Chekhov made a fruitful contribution to literature with a drama whose title names an orchard of what fruit?
Cherry.
That is correct. Back to the monitor. Here's your math question. Evaluate this expression, giving your answer as a positive integer.
1.
1 is correct. In 1819, the Supreme Court backed the doctrine of implied powers in its landmark decision in the case of what man versus Maryland?
McCullough.
That is correct. Nice round, Aurora. Good job. Okie dokie. Our second finalist this morning comes to us from Solon. Solon, your questions courtesy of Carter from Strongsville. Carter, 1, 3, or 4?
Envelope 4.
You got it. All right, Solon, reminder, these are all yours. Good, all set? Here we go. As part of a study, scientists attached a tracker the size of a grain of rice to the back of what kind of web-spinning arachnid?
Spider.
That is correct. There are several online sites that will teach you how to read what pictorial language used in ancient Egypt.
Hieroglyphics.
That is correct. In 1843, a party of explorers toured the Great Salt Lake in a boat made of what substance that Charles Goodyear had vulcanized?
Rubber.
That is correct. Let's go to the monitor. Here's your science question. Which of these is a vector quantity?
Velocity.
That is correct. William the Conqueror not only compiled an impressive record as king, he also compiled what impressive but ominous sounding book of information relating to property?
Doomsday.
That is correct. What Anglo-Irish author who usually understated his own age by 2 years created the ever-youthful character Dorian Gray?
Wilde.
Oscar Wilde is correct. Back to the monitor. Here's your math question. Evaluate this expression, giving your answer as a positive integer.
25 plus 5 plus 20.
Yeah.
That's 50?
Yeah.
50.
50 is correct. That was big. This is for the bonus points. At the World War II Battle of El Alamein, British Field Marshal Montgomery defeated what German general called the Desert Fox?
Rommel.
Rommel is correct for the bonus points. Okie dokie. Our third team in the championship match comes to us from Strongsville. Strongsville, your questions courtesy of Philip. Philip, we have envelope 1 or 3?
1.
1, you got it. Strongsville, all yours. All set? Here we go. With an estimated 1 snake per square meter, people are not allowed on Snake Island off the coast of what largest South American country?
Brazil.
That is correct. Santa's reindeer named Comet appears once a year, but what real comet comes into view only once every 76 years?
Halley's Comet.
That is correct. The work of Swedish researcher Gunnar Myrdal was cited in 1954 in what Supreme Court decision concerning desegregation of public schools?
Brown versus Board of Education.
That is correct. Let's go to the monitor. Here is your science question. If you liken someone to a lichen, you would be comparing him to which of these pairs of living things that make up lichens?
Algae and fungi.
That is correct. In 1770, John Adams successfully defended British soldiers charged with murdering 5 men in what Boston incident leading up to the American Revolution?
Boston Massacre.
That is correct. An Arabic word meaning quatrains gives us the title of what long Omar Khayyam poem translated into English by Edward Fitzgerald? Answer is the Rubaiyat. The Rubaiyat. So, okay, let's go to the monitor. Here's your math question. Solve for y if x equals 3.
-10.
-10 is correct. A courthouse on Wall Street was the site where what printer was acquitted of libel in a 1735 case involving freedom of the press? Answer? Answer?
New York Times.
John Peter Zenger is the man's name. Thank you very much. Good round, good round, good round, great round. We'll be back with more academic excitement right after this. Yeah! All righty. Today's judge, we went right to the top. The president of Cuyahoga Community College, Dr. Michael Baston. Thanks for being here, man. 2 years in a row you've been with us?
This is my second year.
Yeah, keep coming back. We keep bringing you back. What do you want to say about your involvement in our program?
Cuyahoga Community College is so proud to be a part of Academic Challenge and to see these young people, their power, their energy, their brilliance. Wonderful program.
Fantastic. Great to have you here again. Nice
you
to
so
see you.
much.
Nice
Thank
to see you. And that brilliant smile. Thank you so much. All right, we get back into the game. Time to go head-to-head once again. This is our picture-perfect round. Each correct answer here is worth 20 points, but for a wrong answer or no answer, we take away 20 points. Again, this is for all three teams. Hands on the buzzer, eyes on the big monitor down front. All set? Here we go. This animal gave what name to the X-Men character known for his Solon?
Wolverine.
That is correct. This is a self-portrait of what American artist whose last name sounds like a non-commissioned Army officer, Strongsville?
John Singer Sargent.
That is correct. 12 million people passed through this immigration center on what island, Strongsville?
Ellis.
That is correct. State the product of this expression as Aurora.
X squared plus 14x plus 49.
That is correct. Named the cotton-top tamarin, for obvious reasons, this endangered primate lives in what South American country whose capital is Bogota? Solon.
Colombia.
That is correct. This building is in the San Diego Park, named for what 16th century Spanish explorer, the first European in the Americas to reach Solon?
Ponce de Leon.
Vasco Balboa. Balboa is the answer. This is the flag of New Brunswick, a Canadian province which, with Nova Scotia, is famous for what bay where the tides reach 40 to 50 feet? Solon.
Bay of Fundy.
That is correct. The issue of Cleveland Magazine seen here celebrates the publication's 50-year anniversary, an anniversary name for which precious metal with the chemical symbol AU, Strongsville.
Gold.
That is correct. That's the end of that round. We're flying. We're flying this morning. Don't go anywhere. Our exciting Mix It Up round, that's coming up next when we come back. Welcome back to the 55th season championship finale. Four of our favorite people. These are the advisors for our schools. From Aurora, Annie Walker, Karen Sunderup. Back this morning, Solon's advisor, Peter Burton, is here, and Strongsville's teacher advisor, Mike Scott. All four of you, thank you so much for being here. Man, what a year it's been. Thank you so much. They've been a big part in getting everybody ready for this game today and this season. Let's go to the scores. Let's see what we're dealing with right now. Oh, we have a tie for second place, 260 points. Aurora and Strongsville leading the way, 485 points. Solon so far. But hold on, time to mix it up. One at a time, I ask each team 6 questions. A correct response here worth 20 points. No penalty for a wrong answer. Any team answering all 6 questions correctly in this round receives 25 bonus points. First up, Aurora. Ready to roll? Here we go. Hidden in this sentence is the last name of what 17th century British physicist who developed an important gas law?
Boyle.
Boyle is correct. Someone who is very unpredictable and impulsive can be best described by which of these adjectives?
Capricious.
That is correct. What same prefix would you place in the blanks to create words meaning a punctuation mark and something happening every 6 months?
Semi.
That is correct. Instead of knitting, please rearrange the letters in this phrase to name what first man-made satellite launched in 1957 by the Soviet Union.
Sputnik.
That is correct. Which of these theories was developed in the 19th century by Matthias Schleiden and Theodor Schwann?
Cell theory.
Cell theory is correct. That was big. This is for the bonus points. This assertion was made by what English author whose style is evident in her novel Pride and Prejudice?
Jane Austen.
Jane Austen is correct for the bonus points. Here we go. Okay. Solon, you're up. All set? Here we go. Find here the hidden name of what African country whose capital is N'Djamena.
Chad.
That is correct. If you paid an exorbitant price for concert tickets,
expensive.
it can best be described by which of these phrases?
Wildly expensive.
That is correct. Place what same 4-letter prefix in the blanks here to get words that describe a large block of stone and a long speech by a character in a play?
Mono.
That is correct. Rearrange these letters, you will get what specially shaped piece of furniture associated with the legendary King Arthur?
Round table.
Yeah.
Round table.
That is correct.
Nice.
Which of these prehistoric creatures was the largest flying creature in history with a wingspan of 33 feet?
First one.
As darked.
That is correct, and that was big. This is for the bonus points. This was the comment of what 18th century French writer, the author of Candide?
Voltaire.
Voltaire is correct for the bonus points. We're on a roll. We're on a roll. Strongsville, your turn. Ready to roll? Here we go. You can duplicate success by finding in this phrase the name given what anti-foreigner rebellion that took place in China in 1900.
Boxer.
That is correct. No one would want to be accused of avarice, since avarice is a synonym for which of these?
Greed.
That is correct. What five-letter prefix should you place before these words to create new words, meaning outside the natural world and faster than the speed of sound?
Super.
That is correct. Don't worry about nagging. Rearrange the letters to get the Swiss city that names the convention outlining treatment of prisoners of war.
Geneva.
That is correct. In 1935, Sir James Chadwick received a Nobel Prize for his discovery of which of these? Answer?
Neutrons.
Neutrons is correct. That was big. This is for the bonus points. This fashion statement comes from what adventurous American author whose novels include The Sun Also Rises and The Old Man and the Sea?
Hemingway.
Ernest Hemingway is correct for the bonus points. Oh, perfect round! That's the end of that round. Hold on. Here we go. We'll be back for our final grab bag round. We're going to crown this season's champion right after this.
Mayfield.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Nordson Academic Challenge Championship finale. Before we continue, let's take a look at the scores right now. We have a tie for second place, 405 points. Aurora and Strongsville. Solon in the lead, 630 points. Hold on. This is our grab bag round. This is another free-for-all. Every answer here is worth 30 points, but a team will lose 30 points for a wrong or no answer. Again, this is for all three teams to decide the championship. Hands on the buzzers, eyes on the monitor when we need it. Here we go. To commemorate special anniversaries, emeralds and rubies were added to the trophy awarded the winner of what first event in horse racing's Triple Crown? Solon.
Kentucky Derby.
That is correct. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote his book Between the World and Me following a meeting in 2013 with what U.S. president? A Democrat. Solon.
Obama.
That is correct. James Smithson, for whom the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. is named, was among the first to analyze the salt content of what lacrimal secretions of the human eye? Solon.
Tears.
That is correct. This is the Maiden Tower. No one knows when or why it was built, but we do know where. In what capital city of Azerbaijan? Solon.
Baku.
That is correct. What is the logarithm of 1? Solon.
0.
0 is correct. Sometimes help comes from unexpected sources. In the War of 1812, what French pirate? Solon.
Jean Lafitte.
That is correct. Choice. Which of the following is an aromatic compound? Methane, benzene, or Aurora?
Benzene.
That is correct. What man said this was the response he got when he and Steve Wozniak struggled to get financing for the Apple computer they had just developed, Strongsville?
Steve Jobs.
That is correct. The Color Out of Space is the colorful title of a 1927 horror story by what author? Strongsville.
Lovecraft.
That is correct. A book subtitled My Grandfather is an account of the author's relationship with what 20th century Spanish artist who created the famous anti-war painting Guernica? Aurora.
Picasso.
That is correct. While the ostrich is the largest living bird, the second largest is what flightless Australian bird? Aurora.
Emu.
That is correct. This is 12th century Holy Roman Emperor Frederick I, who is known by what nickname referring to his Solon?
Barbarossa.
That is correct. If you go to France on July 14th, you can see the celebration of the French Solon.
Bastille.
That is correct. To help local apple growers, apple pie was served nightly for over a century at what Ivy League University in New Haven, Connecticut? Solon.
Yale.
That Yale is correct. In H.G. Wells' book, The War of the Worlds, one of the worlds was Earth. What was Solon?
Mars.
That is correct. The great chief Shaka united the people of what tribe? Aurora.
Zulu.
That is correct. One type of West Indian music shares what name with the mythical nymph? Solon.
Calypso.
That is correct. That is the end of the round, the game, the season. We go right to the scoreboard. We're happy to announce in third place today with 465 points, it is the team from Strongsville. We have a nice piece of hardware here for you, Strongsville. Congratulations. Thank you so much. And for another presentation on the other side of the studio, Cecilia, what do you have over there?
You have to take the check.
On behalf of the Nordson Corporation, a grant of how much money is that?
$4,000.
$4,000, Strongsville High School. Thank you so much. Way to go, guys. Way to go. In second place this season with 525 points, it is the team from Aurora. There's the trophy. Cecilia, we have another check presentation.
We do. On behalf of Nordson, we celebrate you on this year.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, a $5,000 grant. Second place. And the big winner of our game, of our season, the championship, with 960 points. It is the team from Solon with the big trophy. And the biggest check. Cecilia, it's all yours.
Nordson, we congratulate you on this great year.
Thank you very much.
We cannot thank you enough for being a part of our historic 55th season of the Nordson Academic Challenge from week 1 all the way through now. This is the Nordson Academic Challenge. Did you have fun? That's it. We'll see you next year for season number 56. Until then, class dismissed.